This is Holy Cross component 1 mock, and it's mock 1. And we're on to the essay. And crazy start. There's a lot of difference between a rabbit and a lawnmower. One eats carrots, one eats petrol. Rabbits are choosier than lawn mowers. And this is clearly demonstrated by the occurrence of rabbit burrows of plants avoided by prickly, distasteful or poisonous. And then we get rid of rabbits. What could happen there? And it affects the plants. So once we've got rid, then other things become dominant. That looks like a succession. And then how would they measure any of this stuff? So we've got three clouds. So we've got a cloud here. Let's draw 3 clouds. Okay. The first one is talking about kind of rabbits. What do rabbits do, and how do they affect the vegetation? So rabbits, lawn. I nearly wrote lawnmower there. Lawnmower, kind of vegetation there. Then the middle bit, different species coming and going, dominated by taller woody plants eventually. So we want our succession cloud there. And then the techniques that could have been used. So our kind of field techniques. So those are our clouds. Most people got succession fine, and put loads of stuff in there. You knew about the techniques but couldn't remember them. So, let's do something with a quadrat. So you kind of knew what you needed to talk about, but you just could not remember all the details. And the first one was a little bit trickier, talking about the rabbits versus the lawnmower and what happens to vegetation. So that was a little bit tricky. Remember, to get the higher marks, you need to be talking at all 3 clouds and putting some decent stuff down. Okay, so let's just think about rabbits and lawnmowers. So we've got some plants here, and so there's 2 types of plants there. Rabbits would, it says they're more selective, and where the rabbit burrow is there, then rabbits come out and they eat, but they eat kind of plants that they like. So they might avoid these ones I've coloured red. They might be prickly or toxic or distasteful or that sort of thing. They don't want to eat those. So they will nibble away at these other plants. And so these other plants will go down to kind of stumps. That's a problem because it's hard to identify them because they won't flower. They're just going to be stumps. And that's what rabbits will do. Lawnmowers, on the other hand, they will kind of chop. They will chop and leave all of the plants all in the same kind of height, irrespective of what type they are. But you can usually identify which plants are still there in a kind of log. This is, both of these are kind of a deflected successions, really, where the succession isn't allowed to complete to its natural conclusion. So that's the sort of area that you're looking to talk about. Succession, well, that was much more straightforward. So no rabbits anymore. So there's our grasses, and what would happen? No rabbits. These grasses will get taller, and then you'll get kind of the flowering, flowering perennial plants to start with. Let's have some flowers on those. There we are. Okay. And before we didn't recognise these because they were just kind of, stumps because the rabbits nibbled them. So that was the immediate response. And then you've got kind of taller kind of grasses, and then these would then be kind of even bigger woody kind of plants and so on. So as time goes on, you get this succession. And so you need to sort of just explain these. And as time goes on, the next plant community outcompetes the previous one. So there's one of your key words there. Outcompetes for light, for water, for nutrients. And you just need to name these plants, and generally they become taller as they go on. And then we want, the succession, definition of a succession, so the change in the communities of plants and animals over time. You need to talk about, not many people mention things like seers, and climax community, things like that. So these are the kind of technical words that you need to use. Habitats, niches, things like that. And then on to techniques. The answer is not just chuck a quadrat. What you need to do is get your tape measure out in the area. Your measure. You did this on your field trip. And then you do the same. So you measure with the tape measure your area, and that essentially makes a grid. Then you've got a random number table or some other random number generating device, and then you carefully place your quadrat on the random coordinates. So that's how to place your quadrats. Then in the quadrat, so if I zoom in now on a quadrat, you might get some vegetation there. There are various ways that you can decide how much vegetation there is. You might be counting plants, so you could count those 3 and 2. But then again, is there more of this 3 than there is 2? So you could count them, you could discuss that. You could go percentage cover, and if I'd drawn the quadrat properly, there'd be 100 squares, and you can count how many squares have got vegetation in for each species. You could use the AK4 scale. Is it, all the numbers, stand for different, occasional, frequent, rare, that sort of thing. You could use that sort of scale. And of course, you do repeat results of all of this. And to get a representative sample for the area. And then over time, for the succession, over time you would do this maybe in year 1, then do it in year 2, year 3, year 4, and you'd see a change over the years, or you could do it in different seasons. So various things you could investigate there. So that's what you need for techniques, rather than just we throw a quadrat and see what the vegetation's like. So good luck with that.